What's going on? We're going to be reading from this book once again. The rabbinical literature of the traditions of the Jews contained in their own words. 1747. This is going to be about the end times and the coming of the Messiah, or the Messiahs, both of them. We're going to start here. End of days and the coming of the Messiah. The first sign says, my authority will be God's raising up 3 apostle kings who shall fall away from the faith to the eyes of men. They shall appear to be worshippers of the true God, but they shall have quite other designs, for they shall seduce all men and enjoin them to revolt from God and their faith, in so much that many sinners likewise among the Israelites shall despair of their redemption and liberty, deny God and abandon his fear. Of these it is said, truth hath failed. What meaneth the word failed? All the lovers of truth shall flee away in crowds, and shall hide themselves in dens and caverns. But the mighty and the tyrannical shall pursue and slay them. At that time there shall be no king in Israel, as it is written. And this is from a verse from the Bible. You can type it in, see what verse comes up. The children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an altar, and etc. And there shall be no longer a master of school, no longer a chief of a synagogue, no longer a faithful shepherd who shall feed the people with the law of God. No longer the devout and the merciful, no longer illustrious or excellent men. The heavens shall be shut up, and no food, sustenance be found among men. These 3 kings, who by the ordinance of God are to resign but 9 months, shall issue many cruel, unjust, and tyrannical decrees, insomuch that men shall fall and be diminished in number, choosing rather to die than to deny God. These kings shall ordain a 10-fold increase of the taxes. He who before paid 8 shall afterwards pay 80. He who paid 10 shall pay 100. And he who hath no money shall satisfy by the labor of his body, and heavier burdens shall every day be imposed upon the people of Israel. There shall likewise come from the uttermost parts of the earth black and deformed men, with such terror in their consciousness that they who behold them shall die of affright. For every one of these men will have 2 heads and 7 fiery flaming eyes, and will be so swift of foot as to match the hinds of the fleetnesses. Then shall Israel cry out, woe, woe unto us. The little children shall likewise be terrified, and shall cry out, ah, woe, ah, woe. Father, each to his own. What shall we do? The Father shall answer, the redemption of Israel is at hand. The second sign is this: God will send forth upon the world from the sun the greatest heat, which will cause burning and pestilent fevers and many other diseases, of which there shall die every day, as well as among the heathens and the nations of the world, as among the impious Israelites, 1,000,000 of men, insomuch that at length the heathens with tears and bitter lamentations shall cry out, all wretched. that we are. Whither shall we run? Where shall we hide ourselves? And they shall hasten and make for themselves sepulchres and call passionately for death. The hours of their thirst and diseases shall drive them into the holes and caverns of the earth. But to the just and devout among the people of Israel, that this heat will be medicinal, as it is written. Another verse from the Bible, you can just type in these words, they should pop up. And it's probably from the Old, and it is from the Old Testament, not probably. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise, with healing in his wings. These likewise the impious Balaam hath foretold. Alas, who shall live when God doth this? The third portent is that God will distill upon the earth a bloody dew, which to the Christians and the nations of the world shall seem to be most grateful dew. And so they shall drink of it and shall die, and shall all die. The impious likewise among the people of Israel, who have abandoned all hope of redemption, shall drink of it and die. But it shall do no hurt to the just and devout Jews who preserve in the true faith towards God, as it is written. Another verse. Look it up. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. And for 3 days the whole earth shall overflow with blood, as it is written. Another verse. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. In the fourth place, God will send upon the earth salubrious dew, of which fabulous, salubrious dew, of which shall drink the indefinitely devout who had contracted sickness, excuse me, by drinking of the former dew, and they shall be healed, as it is written. I will be as a dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily, and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. In the fifth place, God will turn the sun into darkness for 30 days, as it is written. Another verse. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. After 30 days, the sun shall recover its former light from the beginning of time, and splendor, as it is written. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, and shall be shut up in a prison, and after many days they shall be visited. At these things the Christians shall be terrified, and they shall be ashamed, and shall acknowledge that these things are done for the sake of the people of Israel. And many shall be converted to the Jewish faith, as it is written. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. So that verse was full. In the sixth place, God shall yield the government of the whole earth to the impious Edomitish, Romish empire, and a certain man among others shall arise up at Rome, who shall govern the whole world for the space of 9 months, and lay waste many countries. His wrath shall burn against the people of Israel, and he shall lay on them most heavy taxes and oppress them with many burdens and grievances. In those days the Israelites shall be greatly diminished. They shall be blotted out and deprived of all help. This is the time which Isaiah had foretold, where he says, And he saw, oh man, what the heck is it? And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor or helper. When the 9 months are elapsed, the Lord shall send Messiah, the son of Joseph. That is to say, who is to arise out of the tribe of Joseph. The one who is to arise out of the tribe of Joseph. Not Joseph and Mary. Who shall be called Nehemiah, the son of Uzziel. And who shall come with the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh, his tribe and his brother's tribe, and of Benjamin, and with part of the tribe of Gad. And as soon as the Israelites shall understand this, they shall flock to him from all cities and countries, that it is written, turn, O backsliding children. Before I continue, here go the verses. We went through Isaiah, Jonah, Isaiah again, Jeremiah. I guess this last one must be Jeremiah. Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you. And I will take you, one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. Then shall Messiah, the son of Joseph, make fierce war upon King Edom, that is either the Roman emperor or the Pope. And he shall overcome him with terrible slaughter. Finally he shall slay the king of the Edomites, and overthrow and lay waste the Roman Empire, and restore to Jerusalem certain sacred vessels which are laid up as a treasure in the imperial palace. The king of Egypt shall then make peace with the Israelites, and shall destroy the inhabitants about Jerusalem, Damascus, and Ashkelon. And the fame of these matters shall spread throughout the whole world, and all men shall be struck with great and horrible fear. The 7th portion is described thus. They say, well, this is the one I want to pause on. This part right here would be Revelations chapter 12. The woman and the dragon. Revelations, it says, great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain, and she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on his head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child. The moment he was born, she gave birth to a son, a male child. They didn't change that in here. Other verses, well, you shall see. Who will rule all nations with the iron scepter, and her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. Now let's go back to the 1700s. They say there is at Rome a marble statue representing a beautiful virgin, which statue is not the workmanship of man, but of heaven. To the beautiful image shall flock the most profligate and abandoned villains out of every nation, and being inflamed with the love of it, shall enjoy it monstrous embrace. In consequence of this horrible enjoyment, God will form in the statue a babe, of which at length a statue dividing shall be delivered, and the child shall be called the impious Armilius. This is he whom the nations call Antichrist. In height and breadth he shall be 12 cubits, and he shall have 2 heads, yellow hair, eyes hollow and red, and at a distance of a span from one another, and his shoes shall be green. He shall go to the impious king of the Romans, and declare himself to be the Messiah and their God. The Romans shall believe in him without more ado, and elect him to be their king of the Edomites. To elect him to be their king, and all the Edomites shall love him steadfastly, adhere to him. He shall bring all the country around under his authority, and shall say to the Edomites, that is the Christians, bring me hither the law which I gave you. And they shall bring it to him with their book of prayers, and he shall receive it as a thing he is well acquainted with, and shall declare it to be his own very law, and exhort them to believe it and observe it. He shall then send messengers to Jerusalem to Nehemiah, the son of Uzziel, and to all Israel, commanding them to bring him the Jewish law, and to prove him out of the law to be God. While the Israelites, on the other hand, shall be seized with terrible fear and struck with the highest astonishment. Then shall Nehemiah with 30,000 of the followers of his troops set out with the book of the law to meet Armilius. And he shall read in his presence these words: I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods but me. Armilius shall answer that these words are not in the law. And he shall call upon them to come, therefore, and acknowledge him to be God as the rest of the nations, and acknowledge him. Whereupon Nehemiah, the son of Uzziel, shall immediately order his servants to take and bind him, and to open the way for the execution of his orders. Shall fall upon Armilius with his 30,000 men, and slay 200,000 of Armilius' forces. Then shall Armilius be seized with furious wrath, and having assembled his troops in a deep valley, shall a second time engage with the people of Israel, and shall slay many of them. Then and there shall the fairest Messiah, the son of Joseph, fall in battle, but the holy angel shall bear off his body, and hide and preserve it with those of the patriarchs, and terror shall be augmented to the Israelites. And their hearts shall fluctuate like the waters, but Armilius shall not know of the death of Messiah, the son of Joseph, lest he should put all to the sword. In those days all the nations of the world shall cast out the Israelites, and suffer them no longer to inhabit among them. And the Jews shall groan under such oppressions and mercies as they shall never have felt before. And they were a people. Then shall descend the angel Michael, and separate the impious from Israel, as it is written. Another verse. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation. Even so that time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Yeah, compare that verse to what preachers and scholars think that means. The residue shall fly into the desert, where they shall be tried of God and purged of their droves, as gold and silver is purged, as it is written. I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. And again, many shall be purified and made white and tried, and etc. And all the residue of the Israelites in the desert shall be pure and holy. And they shall abide there 45 days, feeding only on herbs, grass, and leaves. And in them shall be accomplished the prophecies of the prophet Hosea, which says, Behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. But whence it is proved that they shall remain 45 days in the desert or wilderness, from these words Daniel, from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abominations that make desolate it is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waited and cometh to the 1,335 days. Now the difference between the 1,335 and the 1,290 is 45. And at that time shall fall and perish all the impious of Israel, who are not worthy to see the redemption. At length the impious Armelius shall conquer Egypt, as it is written, and the land of Egypt shall not escape from thence. He shall bend his course to Jerusalem, and endeavor to level her with the ground, as it is written. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas in a glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. In the 8th place the great angel Michael shall rise, and thrice shall blow the great trumpet. And it is said, In that day shall the great trumpet be blown, and they shall come and who were ready to perish in the land of Africa, and etc. Again, the Lord God shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwinds of the south, when the trumpet shall first give the mean sound between the bass and the treble, the true Messiah. The true Messiah, the son of David, and the prophet Elias shall appear and manifest themselves to the devout Jews who had fled into the wilderness, and shall then pluck up their hearts and frighten their hands and confirm their feeble knees. And every Jew throughout the world shall hear the sound of the trumpet, and shall know that God is visiting the people in mercy, and that the absolute redemption is at hand. And they shall be gathered together who were led captive in Africa. But the clangor of the trumpet shall inject a mighty terror in the Christians and other nations, and strike them with great and horrible diseases. In the meantime, the Jews shall make all ready for the return of Jerusalem, and Messiah, the son of David, and the prophet Elijah. That's who it is. Elias, Elijah, with all the devout Jews who had fled into the desert, and all the Israelites who shall have flocked to him, shall arrive at Jerusalem with great joy. As soon as Armelius shall have tidings of these things, he shall say, How long will the most vile and abject nations strike with heel, and shall levy mighty forces of the Christians and lead them to Jerusalem to overthrow the new king. But God will no longer suffer his people to be dragged from misery to misery, but shall say to the Messiah, Sit on my right hand, and to the people of Israel, Be calm and at ease. And will observe the instant and powerful succor which God will minister to you this day. Then shall God rain fire and brimstone from heaven, as it is written, I will plead against him with pestilence, and with blood, and I will rain fire upon him and his bands, and upon the many people that are with him. There shall fall the impious Armelius with his whole army, perishing impious Edomites who destroyed the house of our God, and drove us from our country into captivity, shall likewise for the revenging of the Jews miserably perish, as it is written. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau, by which they understand Christendom, for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau that is not any Christians, for they call us the son of Esau and Edomites, for the Lord has spoken it. In the ninth place, Archangel Michael shall sound again, and he will do in the highest note with some continuances of all the sepulchres of Jerusalem will be opened, and God will restore the dead in them to life, and Messiah, the son of David, and the prophet Elijah shall rise from the dead, and the pious Messiah, the son of Joseph, who is concealed under the gate. Then shall the people of Israel send Messiah, the son of David, to the rest of the Jews who shall yet remain scattered among the Christians and other nations, to call them to Jerusalem. And the kings of the nations shall without delay restore the Jews who shall reside in their dominion upon their shoulders and in chariots to Jerusalem. In the 10th place, when the angel Michael shall sound the third time, God will lead forth all those his people who shall dwell in the rivers Goshan, Lakbesh, and Shaban. And they shall go without number with the children of Moses into paradise, and the land before and behind them shall be fiery and flaming, and no sustenance or means of living shall remain to the Christians or other nations. But when the 12 tribes of the Israelites shall be led forth, the pillars of the clouds of the glorious presence of the majesty of the Lord shall encompass them, and God shall go before the host, as it is written. The breakers come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it, and their kings shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. God shall likewise open for them a fountain which shall be fed from the tree of life, and he shall drink to them the way, so that they shall from that time never know thirst again, as it is written. I will open rivers in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water again. And they shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat or the sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them, even by the spring of water shall be guide them. As a counterbalance of these 10 signs, portending the approach of the Messiah, in which signs they themselves more than any other are to suffer under great oppressions and miseries. They have the 10 following consolations. The first consolation is this, that the Messiah will certainly come as it is written. Say they, behold, the kingdom cometh unto thee, and etc. Okay, we can wind it up right there. We don't need to get into everything. Just hit it and leave it alone. So I hope this helps y'all out with a little bit more understanding of Revelations in the end times. So that should be it. I'm out.